What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in. Back with another edition of the On the Ball podcast. So, hopefully, you guys are ready to talk some sports. We got some NFL to talk about a little bit, and then we'll get into some NBA with the playoffs. A lot of interesting things around the series, as well as some of the coverage and some of the conversations that are happening, which are just hilarious. So we'll get into some of that. But yeah, so before we get into what we got planned for tonight, got to introduce co-host. What's going on, Brett? Not guarding the two, he's guarding the three. What's up with you tonight?
Not much. Like I said, just vibing, waiting for some great basketball tonight. We got Pacers Knicks tonight. We got some WNBA action, Lynx Storm. So it's gonna be a great night tonight.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you did bring up WNBA. I mean, we could start with that. I feel like we do have to show some love to the W for what they got going on. The piece of Collier is looking great. I was watching the video and they were like, if they played as many minutes as the men, like she'd be averaging well over 30 a game and all this kind of stuff. But like, kind of, what are some of your thoughts from early on in the season? Like, what are some things you've been observing that you either like, don't like? Let's talk about it for a little bit. What's up, Jory?
Love what the Lynx are doing. They look great. Fee is looking like she's gonna be, we're be calling MVP at the end of the year. She's off to a really hot start.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm loving what the Lynx are doing. I think the interesting team, because when I got into the WNBA, obviously the first team I tried to follow was the Chicago Sky, because they're only like an hour away. So they've been probably one of the bigger disappointments so far. Just hasn't been a great experience down there. They just don't seem like they know what they want to do.
Yeah.
But overall, Paige is off to a fun start to her career. So overall, it's a great time to be a basketball fan.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, my team's struggling right now, the Sun, but I have been watching a lot of these other teams playing as well. Kelsey Plum's look really good for the Sparks. The Dream have been, I guess, a little surprising to me. Like they have, I mean, they had some players on there before, but they haven't looked too bad early on in the season. Getting used to seeing Brittany Griner in a Dream jersey, but she's kind of fit in really well. As Jory put, yeah, the Sky just, I don't know, they're just like throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks right now, even if it's taking players out of positions that they should be in. You got Reese, you have Cardoso. You would think they'd be pounding the rock on the inside and dominating, but you got Angel Reese playing point forward and all this kind of stuff. I don't know if they're just throwing stuff at her to get her out of the slump that she's kind of in, but it's almost like the Fever last year, where we would watch Fever games and go, what's this coaching staff doing when they had Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston almost playing against each other as opposed to playing with each other and helping each other out? That's almost like what's going on with the Sky. It's like Angel Reese, get her going at the expense of everybody else. And she's struggling shooting, so now the team just looks really bad right now. And maybe it is the leadership there. I don't know, but they got to figure out something, because it is crazy what's going on with them.
And it kind of sucks because, I think Ariel Atkins, she can develop into a great player, but I also
Mm-hmm.
just think that even before the draft, I kind of hated that trade because I also just think straight up Olivia Miles would be a better player. So, Olivia Miles got drafted, I think it was third overall. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Had a chance to, I can't remember if she was second or third overall, but if I were them, I would have stayed there and even moved up to spot if needed to get Miles. But
Didn't Miles stay in school?
no, that was
Who am I thinking of?
I don't. I'm trying to think of who was the one that stayed in school. I don't think it was Miles.
Yeah, I think Miles, she transferred to TCU, I think. Yeah, she was supposed to be like the number 2 pick, but she stayed in school. Yeah, because I was also thinking of Hidalgo, but she wasn't eligible. Yeah, okay. Hidalgo stayed in school. Miles stayed in school too, right? Oh, because
You know what? You're
we got
right.
Jerry
I got
Fact.
mixed up.
Okay.
It was Sonia Cintron.
Oh, okay. There you go.
That's my bad.
Yeah.
That's my bad. I'm old. I'm tired. But
all right.
no,
All good. All good.
no. That's who I was thinking of. I just got the names wrong. But yeah, I thought I thought Sonya would have been the move at 3, but they traded the pick. So overall, though, it just feels like they need some more consistent guard play to really set up the bigs instead of trying to have the bigs set up everybody else. When it comes to Angel, like she could be a point forward, but I don't really think that's what her calling in life's going to be. But I think it's fine to experiment with it now. But she's going to really have to start spraying out to some shooters and just kind of up her playmaking a little more in its vision to get to that point.
Yeah. I mean, you did mention Zentron. I will say that I've enjoyed watching the Mystics when I can. Like that's a team they're like real scrappy. They like Brittany Sykes and some of the players that they have, like they make it tough on opponents, and I can appreciate that. You know, I don't know, like you said, the W is in a good position right now. I know a lot of the talk's been about expansion is definitely needed there when you have women who were drafted this year getting cut. So hopefully some of that can be alleviated with well, Golden State came in this year. I mean, Golden State went like the whole like international route, which you have like I think team comes in next year, and then they're already talking about further expansion beyond that, which I would love to see for the league. With depending on what cities they pick, luckily for them, like they're still growing to the point where there's plenty of markets that they could tap into that not really any bad choices out there for them. So it will be good to kind of see where they go from here and everything, especially with the new NBA deal kicking in next year. We'll see what that does for them as well. So, they're definitely on the right track, and Sky figure it out, because I can't take every day where the Sky like lose and people are just putting up low lights of Angel Reese and all that kind of stuff. Like we need to get beyond that. So yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just so funny. Like people are so quick to try to blame one player for the entire team struggle. Like Angel's struggling, but like quite frankly, just so is the entire team.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know else like to put it, but it's just weird to me. Like always, like how they want to just pin the blame on just like straight up Angel. And like I said, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the part of the problem is Angel's miscast right now. I don't think number one option was ever her calling, like in the W. I think she has a role to play on offense, but I think she's more of like that third or fourth option, mainly just take advantage of offensive rebounds and maybe if you have a smaller defender on you kind of player. But I just think right now everybody's miscast. They need to bring in a player that is a number one that can just tie it all together.
Yeah. Jory says they're poorly coached. Yeah, that's why I brought up Indiana last season, because it always seemed like when Indiana lost, everybody pointed the finger at Aaliyah Boston. Fast forward to this year, Aaliyah Boston's like a walking 2010 player. And when her and Caitlin Clark are playing well, the Fever are a better team. Now, Caitlin Clark's going to be out for a couple of weeks, so we'll see what they can do in her absence. But yeah, we kind of have to hold back on a lot of that blame and everything like that. What's going on, Tony? Appreciate you tuning in. Kerm, what's going on? Thunder are a win away from the NBA Finals. We'll get into that here shortly. Tony said she needs to get rebounds and kick it out. Stop shooting so much. I can agree with that. Go ahead.
I think part of the problem with her shooting too, it isn't half the time necessarily the shot is the funny part. It's where she's shooting it from. She'll like get it and then try to like launch it from like almost her hip. Like she is releasing that ball so low.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's part of the reason why in that viral clip when she kept getting blocked by Jonquel Jones, like she didn't have to jump. She is just like catching it and just kind of throwing it back up, and all you have to do is like, yep, block. Like genuinely, if she's going to put it back up, I think she's just got to use her body more. You got to take, maybe a power dribble, clear some space out, give them a nice little bump to create that separation. Mm-hmm. It's almost like it's just all moving too fast for her, it seems like. If she would just slow down and just kind of be able to assess the situation, and I think that's where the IQ comes into and just be more decisive. Hey, if I'm going to take this up, power dribble, put a shoulder into them, take it back up strong. If I'm going to pass it out, just kick it, look for shooters right away. So I think it'll come, but it's just it kind of goes back to what Jory says. It just doesn't seem like she's necessarily being taught the right things right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it almost seems like, when they struggle, she's trying to take it upon herself to kind of do everything. And that's like where you said that where sometimes the shot selection can be a little shaky, especially when she kind of like jumps into people and it almost makes it easier for them to block her shot or whatever. So I would like to see her maybe, take it back like half speed a little bit and look for better looks. Also, it seemed like she was working on a jumper last year, and it's like now I don't know where that is either. But I think it does point to what Jory said. Coaching is not doing her any favors, not doing the team any favors, because Cardoso as well probably should be producing a little bit more, but within the system that they're running, it's like everybody is struggling in Chicago right now.
They're doing the old Chicago development. We see the same thing with the Chicago Bears. Well, they'll take a player and then they just won't develop him. Who they are is just who they are, especially at the quarterback. That's why all their quarterbacks suck. Mm-hmm. And now the Chicago Sky are doing it. Like, hey, they're going to draft Angel Reese, and we're just kind of not going to push her in the right direction. We're not really going to develop her. She's going to be the same player she was at LSU, except the problem is, at the next level, sometimes the thing you do in college don't work as well, and you just need to tweak them.
Yeah, absolutely. What's going on, John? Tony, coaching is definitely an issue. John, you want a statement of most watched person is when prices drop by 6%. I mean, we understand, Caitlin Clark's appeal collectively. But I'm going to keep saying it. There's still, even her 2-week absence, there's still plenty of players to watch. We just talked about it. If you're not watching Napheesa Collier, please take some time out to do so. Like, she is scoring at the rim. She's scoring from the perimeter. She's taking women off the dribble. Like, she is as close to almost unstoppable as there is in the league right now. So, if you need somebody to watch, focus in on her. I said before the season that I thought she was going to be MVP, and she's well off to a good start to win that award.
Say A'ja Wilson's like trying to carry the Aces right now.
Yeah. Plenty of good basketball out there. Just got to look for it. Kerm Collier's, she's a stud. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely agree with that. All right. Oh, go ahead.
I'll say absolutely. Just said if you're a fan of basketball, great time to be a basketball fan.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's a longer season this year. Instead of 40 games, it's 44, so you get even a little bit more. What's going on, Anthony? What's wrong with Carmelo Cardoso? Yeah, we were just talking about that. If you want to ask about anybody in the Sky, look at coaching. The scheme just does not seem to be right for anybody that's there. The Storm look really good too. Yeah,
I think Camilla just also has some more like underlying issues with her game, and I think she's talented, but at the same time, she frustrates me because I don't think I've ever seen as many somebody commit as many low energy plays on that team as Camilla, right? And it's one of those things, whether it's just being out of position on some of her rotations and being out of place, but the one play that really got me is when Liberty in the Liberty game, Atkins is trapped in the corner. I mean, granted, I'll give Camilla credit; she had her defenders sealed. Like, if you get through that ball, it's probably two. But the problem was Ariel is just completely trapped in the corner, and Rebecca Gardner's just waiting for her to try to throw that entry because she's going to pick that thing off as soon as that ball's up in the air. So the pass never comes to her, and at that point, I think your first instinct would be like, "Oh, let me come up and get her. Let me come get the ball."
Yep.
Camilla just straight up threw her hands up in the air and just walked out of bounds. I think with her sometimes, like, that's the frustrating part is she has talent, but she has the energy and motor of DeAndre Ayton. Sometimes it feels like, and that frustrates me.
Hype on her didn't go to the WNBA. Maybe you're right. Wrong team. Oh, I mean, look, it is still early, so they can still figure it out, but it just, it's not looking really good right now. I think another team that's kind of intriguing into the start that they've had, the Wings. They get Paige Beckers. They already have Enrique. I think a lot of people thought that duo was going to be electric. Hasn't really materialized yet. That's always a tough word. I don't know why. But Paige is averaging 13 a game. Enrique is only averaging 12.5 a game. So is that just the case of the two of them still gelling together and probably nothing to be worried about? Or could there be a bit of a mismatch between the two of them?
I think it's possible, but yeah, that's tough to say. I think it's really just a feeling out process right now. I think we're only 4 games into the Paige's career, so that's not a lot of time to really gel with your team. So with them, I'm just gonna really call it a feeling out process, and if we're still having issues, with them trying to figure out aggression issues and all that, 20, 30 games into the season, all right, yeah, we'll talk about it then. But as of right now, I think they're just kind of in a feeling out kind of process right now.
Yeah. Jory says they have a coaching issue too. I mean, there seemed like there was some turnover with some of these teams, and that may be what a lot of this is. That team has always struggled for some reason last season of stretching the floor and being consistent. And that's kind of where I was leading with it. It's like Enrique, we know, is a dynamic scorer. I do think at some nights, she's not the most efficient scorer. And it always seems like Dallas, people are wanting them to be really good, but they just never seem to really be that at the end of the season. So I don't know what it is. Maybe maybe Agumbawale is one of those players that maybe it's tough to build around. I don't know. We have a lot of that in the NBA. Maybe she's the WNBA's version. I don't know. But I kind of agree with George. It's there's always something off with that team when you watch them. It's kind of hard to figure out what it is.
Is it hard? Is it? I think with them, it's as simple as they forget half the time that the objective of basketball is putting the ball in the basket. This is not an efficient team at all. They're not shooting. They're a sub 40% team field goal percentage wise, and they're the 4th worst 3-point shooting percentage team. These are not. This is an insanely inefficient team, and I think that's part of the problem. When you get them into the half court, there's just really no rhyme or reason right now. You can be a bad 3-point shooting team if you're good at finishing inside the arc, or vice versa. But you have to pick a struggle, and the Dallas Wings have decided they're going to struggle at just basketball offensively. So I think with them, I don't think that it's going to be hard to build around Paige and Enrique. I think the reality is you just have to get some more consistent offense surrounding them, because if you're going to surround them with a team that just can't shoot, What am I going to do as a defense? Yeah, okay. Load up on those two. I really don't care what the other three are doing. They can do whatever they want because they're not going to make the shot. So, yeah, they're 39% from the field, 29% from three. So,
Yeah,
I think they have to figure that out. Like, become good at something. Figure out to be efficient at something to build off of and go from there.
that's fair. Yeah, because Arike's shooting 29% from the field, 21% from three. She's supposed to be your leading scorer, but with numbers like that, that's just rough. Paige, she shoots 34 from the field and 33 from behind the arc, but she's still adjusting to the league. Like her, you can kind of understand. Those Arike numbers have got to come way up if they're going to try to turn their season around. So I guess it is quite simply inefficiency around that team. Let's see, Anthony. I only watched Dallas for okay. All right, Anthony. Number one, that name, man. She should be still in Connecticut, but Connecticut decided to flip everything upside down. But yeah, quick little opener with some WNBA. Like I said, gotta show them some love. We'll probably do this a little bit more often. Start the show, some WNBA talk, because like I said, having a lot of fun watching this season, and I know you as well. So let's move on. Let's go NFL really quickly. Aaron Rodgers is making news again because he refuses to sign anywhere, but he's constantly in the news for whatever reason. So now it's like he's told the Saints, I'm not going there. He's sitting here throwing jabs at the Bears, and then people were like, oh, he's going to sign with the Steelers. He still hasn't signed with the Steelers. I think he said like he's going somewhere that's going to be playing the Bears or something like that. And I was just like, what? What are we talking about? And now the question is, the Steelers are in the middle of all this, but should they be? Should they not just come out and say, we're going with Mason Rudolph, we're developing Will Howard, we don't want Aaron Rodgers anymore. Just put an end to it. Would that not be the best thing for them? Or is Aaron Rodgers worth all this?
If you're the Steelers and what they want to do, you just wait for Aaron Rodgers, as weird as it is, right? When you're the Steelers and your goal and you're Mike Tomlin and you want to, make the playoffs every year, even if you're getting bounced in the wild card weekend and you want to go 9-8, like Aaron Rodgers is your best chance to do that. And I think he knows that too, right? I think that's kind of a big part of it's a big part of it. Like Aaron Rodgers knows that the Steelers will wait because of their quarterback situation. The Steelers know their quarterback situation just stinks. So they'll wait for Rodgers. So I think Rodgers knows he has that leverage at least. And if you're the Steelers, you can say that, but the reality is like they're not going to. So I think at the end of the day, like, would it be better? Maybe. Like, I couldn't tell you that. In my opinion, probably just for like to start like getting some solidarity and familiarity in the locker room without that lingering cloud of, are we going to be bringing in a new quarterback? But we know they're not going to. Let's be real.
Okay. I mean, for me, it's just too much. Like, if he wants to be there, if the Steelers want him, what's the delay at this point? I mean, I know there aren't any games tomorrow that you need him there for, but wouldn't you like to bring him in at some point to work with the wide receivers you do have, build with DK and everybody else? It's just like, why are we still playing this little song and dance at this point when Rodgers has nowhere else to go? His option is basically Steelers, sit out a year, retirement. That's it.
I mean, if you're Rodgers, right, would you sign right now? Think about it. What does Rodgers always like to do? He always likes to skip mandatory training camps. So if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I wouldn't doubt it if he waited till after training camp to sign, just so he doesn't really have to participate in it. At the end of the day, Rodgers is, he'll always be one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. But yeah, he tends to not like to do some of these offseason things, or he tends to not participate in them. So I wouldn't be shocked if Rodgers is just biding his time, waiting for some of these like mini camps he doesn't want to do to pass, and then it's like, oh, now I'll sign.
I mean, you asked if I was Aaron Rodgers. If I was Aaron Rodgers, I'd file the paperwork, go off in some cave forever, and just live my life that way. Like I just can't take it anymore with him. Anthony has a quick question: can someone come out of retirement like Derek Carr? You could,
but the Saints would still have his contract. So
yeah,
unless the Saints traded him somewhere, he would have to come out of retirement to play for the Saints. Yeah. That was the holdup when with Megatron, because apparently Megatron was considering it, but he didn't want to play for the Lions. And the Lions just kind of said, we're not trading your contract to anybody else, and he just stayed retired.
Mm-hmm. Crazy that the Lions had two outstanding players retire early because of the organization. That's crazy.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, Anthony, anybody can come out of retirement. But like Brett said, you're under contract. The team that you were with would hold your rights, so you'd have to go back to that situation. Well, all right. So Aaron Rodgers, we can, I guess, hold out again. Maybe by next week we hear something. But I do agree with you. He's at the point where he's not going to care about OTAs and all that kind of stuff, mini camp, even though when he skips those, and then we see the disconnect between he and his receivers, maybe that's something that wouldn't happen if he were in minicamp building the relationship with them.
Isn't that the best part of the Aaron Rodgers experience, though? Like the week 5 tirade of him just telling the media how bad his wide receivers are.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That is true.
Oh, poor Mike Williams. Never recovered from that.
Oh, that was rough. Like he underthrows it, but then plays Mike Williams, who's then gone like a few days later. When he went to Pittsburgh, and then like first game in Pittsburgh, did more in like a half than he did his whole time with the Jets. Like it was just crazy. But yeah, I think NFL wise, is there anything else? Well, did we didn't get to talk like the NFL meetings last week, I don't think, because we were doing the watch along and everything. Tush push stays. What do you think about that? You okay with that? Are you surprised that it stayed?
I'm not surprised it stayed. At this point, it's great marketing for the league. They want it to stay. I do think, like, here's the thing. I'm okay with it staying, absolutely. As long as, like, my only frustrations with the tush push is, like I said, I've mentioned this in the chat before, but I'll say it again here. One is everybody on the offensive line, like, halfway into the neutral zone and just lining up off sides. And it's not just the Eagles that do it. Like, every team that does the tush push they're all off sides. So I think if you want to, make it a little more fair, obviously, make sure everybody's in a legal formation. I would love to see that. But the one that really annoys me, the only thing that annoys me about the tush push is if we're going to let the offense push, we got to let the defenders at least push back, because it's a penalty on the defense if they push their players. Yeah. But now there's a whole play that the offense can push their players and give themselves an advantage. I think those are the two things I'd love to see kind of adjusted with the tush push. I think it should stay, but I also think the defense should be allowed to push a player if they want to. And I think we just got to make sure everybody's actually lined up in a legal formation doing it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I was kind of thinking that was where we were heading with this vote, or at least someone was going to, bring that up as a possible compromise to keep the rule around, but didn't happen that way. They're keeping it as is for now. We know every meeting is like this is going to be on the table. We just have to accept that. John says tush push is boring. Give me the balls down the field. If you have a good offense, you don't need the tush push. I mean, but all it literally is just a QB sneak with a little Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart sauce on it. Like the same thing that they did at USC. Like Matt Leinart was stopped initially. Bush pushed them. That's what they're doing. I mean, I do agree with Brett. If you're gonna do that, then let your linebackers lean on the D line and push them forward. Like, just make it fair for both sides.
Right.
But, I mean, Jordy's a good point. Keep them out of 3rd and 4th and short, so then they can't do it.
Yeah. Sometimes though, that's just not necessarily possible, right? Like
that's yes, yeah.
That's kind of the counter argument. Like, if you keep them to 3rd and for example, if it's like 3rd and 6 incompletion, but you get hit with like the most BS penalty around, and it's a 5-yard penalty. Like, there are just some situations where it's kind of unavoidable. But no, yeah, but sometimes at the end of the day, there are times where defenses just need to be better.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like, it's like a mixed bag for me when I see keep them out of 3rd and short or 4th and short. Like, it's just not necessarily always possible for that to happen, it feels like. But yeah, no, I'm just looking forward to. I just think that if you want to run this play, just make sure everybody's legal and everybody has the same advantages.
Yeah. I mean, look, Dan Campbell, Mike Vrabel, I think, put it perfectly. Just a paraphrase. I don't know what's going on with me tonight, but paraphrase what they said. They're basically like, look, our job is to stop it, not legislate it out of the game. And I think that's the way that these teams are going to have to look at it. Don't obviously don't put them in situations where they can use it, but if they are, like, don't just throw your hands up and just give up and think that it's an automatic play. Come up with some scheme or something, and maybe you set the trend for defenses to start stopping it. Then I guarantee you teams will stop doing it if it is stopped enough. Anthony did say, I wanted the playoff rule to pass. Now, that's an interesting one because the Lions kind of took that one off the table. But I guess what were your thoughts on that one? And for those of you who don't know, they basically wanted to do it where the division winner with the best record was your number 1 seed. Seeds 2 through 7 went by record. So it didn't matter about divisions at that point. Were you a fan of it? And are you surprised that they pulled it off the table?
I didn't want it to pass. I think that's fine just the way it is. I think the way it is right now really makes the divisions matter. I can't complain about it because, yes, you can say, like, well, right, like, Packers would have been like the 4th or 3rd seed this year, whatever they would have been. I think like the 4th or 5th seed under that rule. But, like, let me put it this way. I didn't complain when it benefited us, like back in 2013 when we were like a 9-win team, won the division and got a home game. So I can't complain about it now. I think that if you want that home game, win your division. Be better than the other 3 teams in your division, and you can get your home game. Like, it's some years things like this happen, but also at the same time, like, I don't think situations like this happen enough where it's really that relevant. Like, there's not that often where, you have a division with like 3 11-plus game winners.
Yeah. Tush push to slow the game down. You want a faster pace. I think for the most part, football is played at a pretty decent pace. It was one play here or there. Because, I mean, look, the tush push is used, what, once, twice a game, maybe. Like, it's not that big of a deal for me. Reseeding was trash when your division. Yes. Agree, because, okay, you get a home field advantage, but you really ain't the best in your division.
And if you're that good, why are you worried about playing like a 9-win Buccaneers team in Tampa Bay? Like,
absolutely, yes.
Like, why does that matter to you? Like, if you are that confident that you are that good, then go beat these inferior teams.
Mm-hmm.
You have a chance to make a statement and win a game on the road. Like, that's a great way to start the playoffs. Like, show them why, like, you're the better team. Like, I don't know how else to put it, but yeah, I think the seeding is just fine the way it is.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Because, like you said, for every 9-win or whatever, Seahawks or Packers team, like you said, I feel like most seasons it kind of works out where the best teams are the division winners anyway, and your wild cards are at whatever they are. So, yeah. So last season I know was the push for it, but like you said, like Jory saying, we can't overreact to it happening once. Now, if it starts happening on a regular basis and you want to come back to it, maybe you can make more of an argument. But for now, the way it is right now, it works. No need to change it. I think they did that because the Vikings. Well, they did it because the NFC North in general was just crazy last year outside of Chicago, because you had Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay all double-digit wins. The Lions and Vikings were 15 and 14 wins, I believe, respectively,
Yeah.
and the Packers were 11. Name another division that's pulling that off. Okay, John has a question here. Which team needs to jumpstart their season more than any other team? Bengals, they always start slow. Patriots, Cowboys, or Steelers? Well, I think the Bengals might be the obvious answer. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll take the Bengals out of this. We'll look at the other three: Patriots, Cowboys, or Steelers. Who needs to get a quick start to their season more?
I don't think the Patriots really matter all that much about getting a quick start to their season.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think the Patriots are really a team we're looking at and like, yeah, they're contenders this year. I think they still might be a year away.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really think it matters that much if they get a quick start to their season. I think when it comes to, I feel like the easy answer here is the Cowboys. Like, the Steelers always get a quick start to their seasons. I'm not too worried about that. They just seem to like fall apart in the end, but they are normally a fast starting team. The Cowboys, on the other hand, they're a team that's interesting. They could go either way, but they're in a division right now with the Eagles and the Commanders. Like, if you want to keep pace and be America's team and this playoff team, like Micah Parsons prides you guys on being, like, you better get off to a quick start. Like, there's no expectations for the Steelers to do anything outside of maybe go 9 and 8 and barely sneak into the wild card round.
Mm-hmm.
Patriots, they're probably still a year away. Cowboys, every year, this is our year. So if you want this to be your year, you better start out quick.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are a good answer. I'm kind of looking at the Steelers, where we've seen the past couple of years, Steeler fans are like ready for Tomlin to be fired. I think this season, because of the way the quarterback position is being handled, where without, I guess, anything crazy happening with Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph's going to be your week 1 starter. You have DK Metcalf, who, is a wide receiver that is not afraid to let his emotions kind of just fly off the handle. If they start slow, that could be a situation that gets kind of crazy, almost ugly early on. And ultimately, it may turn into something where there's so much confusion going on there that we start looking at Tomlin, and then Tomlin could be ousted there, even though that's not something the Steelers like to do. But I think for Tomlin's sake, he probably needs a good start to the season, especially if Mason Rudolph is the quarterback. Jory said the Bengals need it, which, yes, they have. I mean, we said, like, we both agreed with the Bengals needing it the most, but yeah, they would be the answer if we kept them in this, because their history with Zach Taylor just kind of like punting on the first 4 weeks and then trying to turn it on. That's crazy.
Say the Bengals got to figure out how to, sign their rookie and Hendricks into a new contract before they worry about the start of the season.
Yeah.
If they don't have Stewart or Hendrickson like on the field, like
Burrow better put up 50 a game.
I was gonna say, yeah. You remember that great Rams KC 54-48 game?
Mhm.
Yeah, that just might be every week in Cincinnati if they can't figure out how to get those two on the field.
Yeah. All right, got another question. What team will have the most drama day one? Bengals, Cowboys, Saints, Jets, Bears.
Bengals.
I actually don't think the Jets will have a lot of drama day one.
I think the Jets drama got released this offseason.
Yeah. I think Aaron Glenn will be the right guy to kind of calm all that down.
I don't think there'd be that much drama with the Bears. Like Saints, I don't think anybody really cares about the Saints enough to have drama with them. Like
they may need drama just for attention, but I don't think they're gonna have
it. Like their best player is arguably like 36-year-old Demario Davis. Like nobody's paying attention to the Saints. So that brings you to the Bengals or the Cowboys. Cowboys are always like an easy answer, but once again, like we talked about before, this is a Bengals team with an MVP caliber player in Joe Burrow, but they took steps to re-sign, T. Higgins this offseason, but they also can't figure out now how to sign their two defensive ends. Like, there's going to be a lot of drama. Let me put it this way, I think there's going to be a lot of drama if they don't get it figured out. They go into week one and their defense gets a 30-piece hung on them. Like every single bad defensive game is going to stir up a lot of drama with that team if they can't figure this out.
Yeah. I mean, the Cowboys are just walking drama, so, they can't help it. Let's see. John said the Jets. Well, like we said, the Jets drama was Rodgers, and he's gone. Aaron Glenn, coming from the Dan Campbell tree, is probably not going to allow any of that to happen. Like I had the comments. I appreciate that, John. We thought that would help you guys out to see conversations from both sides. Would you take everything back if Mike Tomlin has a good record with Mason? Now, I did say that only because of how the fans have been. But with this situation, if there is a coach to figure out a way to get to 9 wins, it would be Tomlin, because there's been years where they get towards the end of the season, they're like, hovering around 500, maybe a game below, and then they go on like a mini 3-game run. And then you look at the end of the season, they're 9-8 type of team. So that could happen. But I do think they would have to start the season well. I did pull up their schedule, which is kind of why I thought they needed it. They start with the Jets, the Seahawks, Patriots in their first 3. Like if you're the Steelers, you probably want to go like 2-1 at least in those first 3. Because then after that, you got the Vikings, Browns, or whatever. But Bengals, Packers, Colts. Once you get past the Colts, you're looking at Chargers, Bengals, Bears, Bills, Ravens, Dolphins, whatever. The Lions, then Browns and Ravens. A lot of tough games there. So if Tomlin is going to try to do that this season, he's probably going to have to load up on wins earlier in that schedule than necessarily late. If Mike Tomlin's let go, wouldn't surprise me if Miami or another team pick him up, like the Cards or the Giants. Yeah, I mean, he'd get a job pretty quickly. The team that Tony put us onto that. I think Sports Report, that podcast, we said like they put cinnamon in their chili in Cincinnati, which more power to him. Tomlin was winning with Trubisky. What changed your mind with Mason? He's a good coach.
I mean, Trubisky also made the playoffs with the Bears. Like he's shown that he could be a capable enough quarterback that he could sneak into a playoff team if you put a good enough team around him. Mason Rudolph is just terrible. Like his career highlight is, hey, I got hit in the head with Myles Garrett helmet. Like
that play was so crazy.
Yeah. Like if Mike Tomlin wins like 9 games with Mason Rudolph as a starting quarterback, like I might just like I'll get him like a Mason Rudolph jersey because I'd be that stunned that he pulled it off. Like it's wild.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that man just is not a good quarterback.
Yeah. That's incorrect. Okay. Yeah, look, appreciate all of you in the chat. Those of you that are tuned in, make sure you do. It says there at the bottom, like, share, tag followers. Let's bring some more in. Let's expand the conversation a little bit more. But yeah, you guys keep throwing questions in the chat. We greatly appreciate that, and we'll let you drive the bus a little bit here tonight. Okay, so we got NFL. Obviously, as we get closer to the season, we'll start doing our predictions for divisions and playoff teams and all of that. Oh, here we go. Anthony, is Kellen Moore a bridge coach for the Saints until they find their guy? Is this the last year for Debo? Oh, Anthony, did you mean to say Dayball? Maybe Dayball. I don't think Kellen Moore is a bridge coach, only because he might have been the only one who wanted that job. So the Saints could set their sights higher, but with their continuing cap situation, with their quarterback questions, with their aging defense, I don't know who you're attracting down there right now. So I think that is the type of job where, Kellen Moore, maybe he's a good coach and you find a gem, or you find out he's not ready to be a head coach and then you kind of move on. But I wouldn't say he's a bridge coach. I think the Saints obviously want Kellen Moore to work out. But I also just don't think anybody else with a higher profile is running to go to the Saints right now.
No, they got to clean up so much down there in order to attract a higher profile coach, like especially their cap situation. Like right now they keep kicking the can. They just need to take like a couple of years and just kind of, fix the cap. It's kind of how Green Bay became the youngest team in the league. When Rodgers left, we just kind of kicked the can down. We kept kicking the can. Rodgers left. And we spent the last 2 years just trying to clean up our cap space from the Rodgers years. So I think the Saints just kind of got to do that. And listen, they might suck for a couple of years. That's okay, because that's how you end up with, blue chip prospects, right? Yeah. It's better than, being 80 million over the cap and getting the 11th or 12th pick every year.
Yeah. Yeah, look, the NFL, maybe more so than any league, the prospect of bottoming out shouldn't be that much of a fear factor, because some of these other leagues where if you bottom out, you're kind of stuck for a while. NFL, like you said, year or two, you might be bad, and then you flip the switch, and all of a sudden you're the Commanders, and you're like, oh, you're looked as one of the budding teams of the next like 4 or 5 years. So yeah, I think that's what the Saints have needed to do. They keep like holding on to guys to stay relevant in an NFC South that hasn't been great. And if they were to even be competitive down there in the scheme of the NFC, then they wouldn't be that good anyway. So if that means stinking this year for Arch Manning or whoever the top quarterback becomes next season, go ahead and do it. Why not?
The funny part is too, like they could bottom out and still compete in the NFC South. Like it is not that good of a division. Like you get like hot once during the season and you might just win that division. Like it is not a great division. Like you can like retool and rebuild and fix your cap while still, remaining somewhat competitive in that one.
Yeah. That's why don't count out Carolina this year. Like Carolina has as much of a chance to win that division as the Falcons or the Bucs do.
Don't count out the Falcons.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. The Falcons are going to Falcon at some point. Jory says the Dolphins are also under pressure. Absolutely. What number would you put the pressure the Dolphins are under from 1 to 10?
Give me like it's so we. I'm gonna say it's probably like a solid 7. I think there's pressure on like Mike McDaniel's because like if the team falls apart again for the umpteenth year in a row under him, like you can't imagine like he's going to be the coach after this year if there isn't a marked improvement of the team. So I genuinely think that there is quite a bit of pressure on the Dolphins. Maybe not even to contend, but just to make a. I think they at least got to make the playoffs. They have to give like ownership and the GM like a reason, like to show why the coaching staff stay around. Otherwise, if they can't, then next year there could be some like overhauls and changes.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Dolphins need to, if they want to keep it kind of where it is right now, the Dolphins have to be probably in the wild card conversation and probably finish second in the AFC East. If they find themselves behind the Patriots, if the Jets manage to finish ahead of them, I think they go scorched earth in that place and they start wiping out a lot of talent down there. And they may technically start with like Jalen Ramsey, who supposedly is supposed to be on his way out. But another question from John. Who's going to be the Falcons starter? Saints starter. Falcons starter is an obvious one. It's Penix. They have moved on from Kirk Cousins. They just won't kick him out of the building yet. But I believe they started their mini camp and Kirk wasn't there. So we might get to the point where Kirk Cousins gets moved. And I think the rumor is Pittsburgh may look to Kirk if they don't get Aaron Rodgers. So Kirk Cousins might be waiting around, hoping Aaron Rodgers decides not to go to Pittsburgh for him to get out of Atlanta. The Saints starter, I think they start Spencer Rattler, and then we find ourselves watching Tyler Shuck mid-season.
Oh, that sounds like the 3 stages of hell. I'm so sorry, Saints fans. I'm so sorry, Will.
Yeah, that's brutal, but I feel like that's where they're going with it.
I just can't imagine trying to sell your fan base on that. Like, come out to the game today and see Tyler Shuck. Like, I'd rather not. I'm all right.
Yeah, come see this 28-year-old rookie, or I don't even know. These things like 26, 27 or something like that. John said Kellen Moore will stay. Saints just in a mess by their own. Give them 3 to 4 years. Now, I do think the Saints need to show commitment to Kellen Moore. Like, they can't be crazy like the Giants, where the Giants are like, players are bust or Dayball's getting fired. Like, the Saints have to understand this is a multi-year thing. You've committed to Kellen Moore. If he stinks as a coach, let him grow in the position, and hopefully you're better off in a few years, like John said. Let go of Brandon Cooks, Kamara, start there. I don't know why they signed Brandon Cooks to begin with. So
Brandon Cooks still plays football?
Yeah, the Saints signed him this offseason. This offseason, the Saints signed him.
Like, I know he went to the Cowboys, and I genuinely thought he retired after that. Granted, he might as well have been retired on Dallas, but...
Mm-hmm. Trevor Lawrence is at a point in his career to start having discussions about. Yes, Trevor Lawrence. I think there's a couple other quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence. I think Kyler Murray. Justin Herbert, maybe, but Justin Herbert gets a pass because he now has Harbaugh, who's more confident than Staley. Maybe those two, Law and Kyler Murray. But Trevor Lawrence definitely needs a conversation.
I think there's going to be discussions about Justin Herbert, though. Like, mainly just if he struggles like he did these past couple times in the postseason. Like, if he goes in the postseason and puts up another stinker, like, he might be getting that, regular season merchant tag. Like, I think there will be discussions, but I think it's just more like, we know you can be good in the regular season now. We need to see it in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's a few guys like that who could use a good postseason run. But yeah. And look, Jory, well, obviously on our show, Friday nights, we'll have those discussions, and Brett and I will definitely have those discussions about Trevor Lawrence if he does not play well this season, because that division, little up in the air, depending on how you feel about Houston. But I feel like CJ Stroud took kind of a step back last year. They've had some turnover at key positions, so we don't know what they'll look like. The Titans have Cam Ward, so it seems like they're heading in the right direction with their quarterback position. The Colts, good luck figuring out what's going on there between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. Like, if you're a Jags fan and you are asking yourselves when this team's going to break through, this seems like the kind of year Trevor Lawrence, if he is worth it, and if he is that good, they should be somewhat in this race, in this division this year. So I agree. If they're not, need to talk about them. Look, if they went out of their way to go get Daniel Jones, that was kind of a sign that they either want Richardson to develop a little more, or they're just done with him and they're kind of just riding out this rookie deal until they can move on from him. Because if you lose your job to Daniel Jones, that's got to kill your confidence.
And that's what it feels like, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, if you can't beat Daniel Jones out for a starting quarterback job in 2025, like, I don't know, man. If that's not, like, a telltale sign that you're not a starting caliber quarterback, I don't know what else is at this point.
Yeah. Like, at the very least, it probably means you need to change the scenery. Because just you and Indy just aren't vibing. Whether it's a scheme, whether it's your ability, like, you need to go somewhere else. So, look, I mean, at least they have a quarterback battle down there. It might give you a reason to watch a Colts preseason game or two. See who actually looks good there. But yeah, I kind of agree. They went out of their way for him. Daniel Jones probably has the inside track to that job. Like, Anthony Richardson can throw it a mile, but then you run a route like 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, and he has no idea what to do. So he kind of is what we thought he was coming out of Florida. The Colts, for whatever reason, just didn't see it and thought he could be better in the NFL.
I think the Colts just, like, were way too quick with it. Like, It feels like he can still be a good quarterback, but they, like, are just treated him right away like he was a finished project when we clearly knew that he's a project. He's a project quarterback.
Yeah.
So I'm, at the end of the day, I'm hoping that, hoping the best for him. But as much as this is on Anthony Richardson, this is also just a failure on the half of the Colts for just not putting him in the position where he needs to be at this point in his career.
Yeah, that's true. And you hate to see it for a young quarterback, but that's the NFL for you. But yeah, throw your chat. Keep throwing out questions. We might. Actually, I think we'll kind of pivot to the NBA right now. We have a game for tonight, Pacers and Knicks. Knicks get that third game win to cut the deficit in the series to 2-1, still in the Pacers' favor. What did you see from that game in Game 3 that, if you're the Pacers, you should be worried about? Or was there nothing in that game that they should overreact to, and that they should just kind of just continue playing their game and they should be fine in this series?
I think they should just keep doing what they're doing and playing their game. I actually thought that one of the biggest problems with the Pacers was overpassing. Like, they would pass up great looks for, less than ideal ones.
Mm-hmm.
I get sharing the ball, but I think after a certain point, they got a little stagnant in the fourth when the pressure started to mount.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a lot of this came to be because they were just oversharing. Like, I get, wanting to trust your teammates and build their confidence, but, if they have open looks, they just got to let it rip. Like, no hesitation.
Yeah. And I think that's something that, younger teams can kind of get into a bit of a habit of doing, even though the Pacers were at this point last year. So, maybe they should have learned something. I think Rick Carlisle is a great coach, so I'm sure Game 3 was a wake up call. He'll have a lot for them in terms of preparation for the game tonight. And I would not be shocked to see the Pacers look really good tonight, put a lot of pressure on the Knicks because the Knicks can't go back to New York down 3-1 because obviously even if they win game 5, they'd be on the brink in a game 6 situation. So with that, if the Knicks did win tonight, even the series 2-2, would you then give the advantage back to the Knicks, or do you think the Pacers are still in the best position to win this series?
No, I think I'm still going to stick with the Pacers on this one. Because it's the little things, right? Like, they got a boost last night from a lineup with DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet, the Knicks did, and I'm sitting here like, that is not sustainable. I like the Pacers' depth a lot better than the Knicks because I don't think they'll get lightning in a bottle like that. I think they're going to try it again. I think we're going to see more Shamet and more DeLon, except I think the Pacers will be ready for it. And so I think that outside of, I think the Knicks might, try to get even crazier. Maybe, Rick Carlisle keeps bringing up Precious Achiuwa in interviews. Maybe it's Precious time tonight. But at the end of the day, I just think that the Knicks kind of use their tricks. And I don't think they work as well in Game 4 as they do in Game 3.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I mean, I thought I think I had the Pacers in like 5 or 6. I still feel confident in that. I think tonight we're going to get a very good performance from the Pacers. As whether or not the Knicks get caught up in the pace that the Pacers want to play at, or if the Knicks in key situations can slow the Pacers down and get it more to the Knicks' liking. It's a good point by you, John. Knicks stand around too much when Brunson has the ball. They have the ball. They have too much of the ball, 200% more. Okay. Yeah. As good as Brunson is, that is kind of a problem, and that's where the Knicks do get in trouble, where Brunson's having to play hero ball to kind of save possessions. I think for the Knicks, you like it, which we kind of saw when Brunson was in foul trouble Game 3 and he had to sit on the bench and watch. Because Brunson wasn't out there, you didn't have a dominant offensive player. So those guys, if they were going to create shots, they had to move not only the ball but themselves and force themselves into better situations. For whatever reason, they don't do it as much when Brunson's on the floor. So I agree with you there, John. They got to kind of find a happy medium between both styles when Brunson is playing, since he is their best player.
I mean, they should, but they won't, right? And
Absolutely,
and that's kind of the thing. Tibbs deserves a lot of credit for getting him to this point, but one of the biggest flaws of Tom Thibodeau is he runs the most uninspiring offense you'll ever see. And it's always been that way with him, right? Like Chicago Bulls offense, it was a lot of, hey, Derek, go do your thing. So I would love to see more ball movement and action from the Knicks, but I don't think it happens. I really don't.
That's definitely a fair point, because I do agree with it. Like, that's kind of what's gotten them here. It's hard to now tell them that that's not going to work when it's worked so far. So I definitely agree that that's going to be what kind of decides Game 4 and the rest of the series going forward. How much can Brunson make the guys around him better while still getting his numbers? If he can do that, they're fine. If not, I don't think they have enough firepower for this Pacers team. And look, we may have kind of just missed the boat on the Pacers these past couple of years, that they're just a really good, deep team. And maybe that's where the NBA kind of starts heading towards, where roster construction is going to be more imperative, especially with the whole aprons and all that stuff, where you can't have 3-4 guys making way too much, because then you're just not going to be good enough to face some of these squads that are out here right now. Bridges needs to have a huge game and not wait till the fourth quarter. Hart needs to play smarter. I think Hart is what he is at this point. Like, he's a guy that battles on the boards, and you love that. When it comes to him with scoring, like, you're gonna have to kind of take what you get from Hart. Now, Bridges, I agree, and Brett and I have talked about this before. They gave up, was it 5 picks for him? You don't give up 5 picks for a guy to be like a situational scorer. Like, he was supposed to be probably the clear-cut number 3 after Brunson and Cat. He hasn't been that enough for me his time in New York. Like, OG's probably been more consistent, and OG's been up and down with his scoring as well. So I agree with you. Bridges does need to have a big game. Jory said Brunson and Cat have proven to also be defensive liabilities. That was always going to be a problem for the Knicks. What's going on, Key? I mean, Key, you missed some good WNBA talk early on. Would have loved to have you in the chat for that. Yeah, I mean, Brunson and Cat are what they are defensively. That's kind of been Thibodeau's challenge with this is, what they can do offensively versus what they can't do defensively, especially against a Pacers team that can put a lot of points on you pretty quickly. So I guess before we move on to the West, you have the Pacers winning tonight.
I do. Like I said, I think the Knicks pulled it out last night, but I don't think they get that lucky tonight. Yeah. The Pacers just seem to have their number, honestly.
Mm-hmm. I agree, and I think we might get a 20-point performance from Halliburton tonight. I'm gonna throw that out there.
Well, it does. Well, what doesn't help the Knicks is Cat's already in foul trouble. He has 2 already.
That is something that's fascinating to me because he led the league in fouls during the regular season, and you look at a lot of his fouls, and it's just like, Cat, you're being lazy, you're like reaching, all this kind of stuff. It's like that's something he's gonna have to fix for sure.
Key
said she's gonna go back and watch it. So I will tell you, Key, that we'll probably starting off our shows each week with some WNBA talk. But yeah, go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, no, it's something that just cannot happen, and because now it's really going to fall all on Brunson to play make and just be that guy on the offense.
Mm-hmm. And Brunson's not a guy who necessarily stays away from foul trouble himself, as we saw last game. So, yeah, Cat has to be on the floor. Okay, now I know. Yeah, just letting you know. All right, so let's look out West. Another situation where Thunder were up 2-0. Everybody's ready to put them into the finals. Curran did mention earlier on. The Thunder get the Game 4 win after the T-Wolves got the win in Game 3. Thunder are now up 3-1 in that series. I think it'd be easy to ask if the Thunder have locked that series up, but I'm going to go about this the other way. If you are the Wolves, what do you need to do if you're going to come back from a 3-1 deficit and win this series?
Better production out of your star players. Like it really comes. Like the first game, it was the bench, but I actually think like Walker and them have been playing much better in the following games. And yesterday, the bench had 62 points. Like the bench was fantastic for them yesterday. But as much as like Anthony Edwards has to be more aggressive, when Julius Randle has to be more efficient, and Rudy Gobert has to be more efficient. All 3 of them have been, somewhat disappointing at times during this series, and I think it just comes down to their stars have to be more consistent. Like, I think since Game 1, the bench has stepped up, but since they stepped up, the stars have kind of just fallen off. So, hey, I'm going to defend Julius Randle from John, by the way. because he's been their most consistent player up to this point.
Yeah, I was about to go
Like,
there. Yeah.
he has been their most consistent player. And I think Ant has peaked higher, but Randall's been right up there with him this postseason run. So I will say that I actually think Julius Randle has done a great job at kind of debunking that he can't play in the postseason narrative.
Mhm.
And the only defense he's really struggled against is an all-time great Thunder defense. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I guarantee you, if Julius Randle was playing like he has in this postseason run in LA, he'd still be in LA. If he played like this with the Knicks, he would still be a Knick. So if you're Minnesota, you're hoping that this run represents what Randle might be going forward for you. And hopefully he doesn't regress to the point where he turns into, the Velcro, the black hole on offense where you're just like, no, don't take that shot. Stop taking that fadeaway three in the corner, like stuff like that. Yeah, I'm agree with you. I'm not going to say anything bad about Julius Randle. He has surprised me with his consistency outside of last game, obviously.
I will say that Wolves do have a Mike Conley problem. Like, he's just old. Like, it's nothing against Conley. You're just at a point where you can tell, like, he can still be a quality, like, low minutes player, but he shouldn't be the starter playing big minutes on a playoff team at this point in his career. And I think that's become very apparent this postseason.
Yeah. True.
That's why that's why they invested so heavily into Rob Dillingham. They moved up and gave up a future first, so they essentially just invested 2 drafts worth of picks into him. So we'll see if he can develop into the point guard that they think he can be.
Yeah. But I agree. Look, Conley's had his run, and if this is kind of him on the back. Him on the 18th hole or whatever, it is what it is. So I agree. The Wolves, that's something that they would definitely have to look into next season as an upgrade at point guard. Because, yeah, if Conley is your bench, your backup point guard, or even like your depth point guard, kind of giving you leadership for maybe a young guy like a Dillingham, then, yeah, he still has some value in this league. But to be starting in the Western Conference Finals, yeah, he's definitely getting exposed right now. Key said Randall's been balling. Randall has in the last 2 games. Yeah, like we said, Randall, last game for sure was awful, but for where Minnesota is right now, they're not here without Julius Randle. So if he has a couple of games where he isn't great, I'm not going to come down on him, especially when Ant, who is supposed to be the guy, has been way more inconsistent and more often than not has been below average, at least according to me. And I think Brett would agree with that. Like, Ant's been more of a problem than Randall this postseason. And that's a problem to me because it shouldn't be that way. Ant's supposed to lead this team. Randall's supposed to be in a support role. A lot of nights, Randall has to be the guy for them.
And it's funny because I already kind of writing off the Wolves because Randall in elimination games is genuinely somehow turns into a really bad player half the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like we saw it against the Lakers, right? Ant was pretty terrible in the elimination game, but Rudy went nuts. He's pretty terrible again. Especially last year too against Denver, he was terrible in that elimination game, but it worked out in his favor. I don't know what it is, but it seems like any time that there's an elimination game that he just, I don't know, I wouldn't say gets the yips, but something gets to him and he just does not perform up to the standards you'd expect Ant to perform in those big games.
Mm-hmm. And I think funny enough, when these 3 first came together, I think this was the worry that we had, was would all 3 of them play well together? And in this series, that's what we've seen. Randall's good, Ant isn't. Rudy isn't. If Rudy's playing better, usually Randall and Ant aren't. If Ant hasn't really had a like a great game where you're just like, oh, Ant's going crazy. Like, but if he does, it's like the other two suffer from that. So that's, I guess it's rearing its ugly head at the worst time. But yeah, that was kind of a worry that we had when these three came together. John said SGA's been below average, but he's still going to get you points.
SGA
That
below
also
average.
speaks to a Thunder being a deeper, better team than Minnesota.
SGA too below average is different than Ant playing below average because SGA playing below average, he's still an elite playmaker, and that's one of Ant's biggest like worrying points right now is his playmaking and decision making. So while SGA is struggling to score the ball, he's still very good at just getting it to his guys and spraying it out to shooters. Where a lot of the time Ant just doesn't do the same. I think he's shown improvements in that area, and he's working on it clearly, but that's still a weak point in his game. So when Ant and SGA aren't scoring, I think they're just two different things because of the difference in playmaking and how good each one of them are at finding shooters. Because they're on two different levels. SGA is just much better at keeping his team involved if he's not scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. John said, so KD to the Wolves to have a better chance, joking the KD trade talk. Look, KD's name is going to be brought up in a few situations. I mean, I don't know if the Wolves necessarily enter into that, but I mean, if they had KD right now, I don't know. They probably would look a little better. But, yeah. I mean, look, the offseason is going to be crazy in the NBA. I kind of am hoping to get through the finals so we get to a lot of this KD, Giannis stuff. And I don't know if you saw today, but Dallas is, looking for point guards in the trade market. Like, it's going to be an active offseason for sure.
I think a guy like Luka could fit the Mavericks very well.
Yeah.
If only they had a guy like that, they'd be set.
LaMelo's name did come up. Like, I think LaMelo did. No, I think Lonzo actually. I think Lonzo is on Dallas's radar. I think it's Lonzo, Drew Holiday. There was a third one. Maybe it is LaMelo. I don't know.
I mean, possible, but I don't. I think Lonzo's more likely because I feel like they're gonna, about to invest heavily in Kyrie Irving, right? I think he'll resign because the Mavericks and I think they will overpay him.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think they're looking to get a max contract point guard before they sign Kyrie to a $30-40 million a year deal. So yeah. I think Lonzo is probably a good target for what they want to do, or even Drew Holiday.
Right. Yeah. I do think those two are probably more likely. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I guess we're moving on to All NBA. So tonight, I guess tomorrow night, I should say, sorry. Thunder close it out, or the Wolves survive for another game?
Yeah, I'll take Thunder close it out. I don't even think that it'll be that big of a blowout. That close of a game, I mean, I think the Thunder will just, win very comfortably.
I agree. Yeah. The minute the Thunder go up 10-12, you'll probably see that Wolves team pack it in. So I agree. I think the Thunder close it out.
Hey, listen, and then that's one more series done, and then we can get to the more important conversations like faces of the NBA being family men.
Yeah. Look, ESPN today had some very interesting conversations. Because one, I got up, it was I saw Get Up was on. I was like, let me see what Get Up's talking about. First thing they're talking about, they played the Anthony Edwards clip where he was like, no, I didn't struggle. I just didn't take enough shots. Which I was like, okay, that's an interesting way to put it. But then they cut to the studio where they had Greeny, the Morris twins, which ESPN, can we stop with that? Because I know that Around the Horn signed off. Tim Collishaw took a shot at ESPN. It was apparently ESPN just wants to bring on athletes. So, this is where we are. And I'm like, the Morris twins do not need to be on daytime TV. But they all agreed, and Perk said it first, Yeah, Anthony Edwards didn't struggle last night. Look how many points they put up. So he didn't struggle. It was their defense that was the problem. And I looked at the numbers. I'm like, he had 16 points, took 13 shots. He had 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Now, to the Morris twins, if they put that up in a playoff game, you're celebrating them. So maybe to them, those numbers look good.
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, that's a career night for the Morris twins.
Yeah,
Like,
especially Markeith. If you're getting 16 out of Markeith,
if
bottle that up.
if you can get 16 playable minutes out of Markieff Morris in a playoff game, like you're throwing a parade on the street, nonetheless 16 points.
Yeah. So I think for Anthony Edwards, who this is now the second playoff in a row where last season, remember TNT, when they beat Denver, they put Ant up there as the next guy. ESPN's done that. His performance so far is not face of the league type. Now, for them to throw in the family man part, they must have been under a rock with some of this Anthony Edwards news because he's not exactly, well, he's creating families, not exactly a family man. So he should be disqualified. But then, like, some of the names they went through, and it's like,
family man, Michael Jordan. I'm like, huh? Like, yeah, now he's a family man, but like 1990s Michael Jordan was a family man? Like 80s Magic was a family man? Like, come on now.
yeah.
Gotta be better than that.
Right. And it's just like number one, face of the league, we don't need family men. Because like I said, if you did, Ant would never be in your conversation anyway. But we know the league wants Ant to be the guy to take it over because he's got the personality, he has all that. Not necessarily the accolades yet, but for media especially, they love the sound bites they can get from Anthony Edwards. So I guess we could pivot really quickly because I also seen a lot of people talking about face of the league on social media and everything like that. I think we talked about it on here before. I feel like for the last time we'll talk about this. Why is it that everybody is so quick to appoint a face of the league instead of going faces of the league?
Because they're bored and need something to do, right? Because, like, what other reason is there? Because it's like face of the league, and then they make up the most ridiculous criteria for it, like face of the league, but they have to be an American family man. They can't be international, like, and you just sit there, you're just like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, at the end of the day, like, then there's no face of the league. If the criteria they're setting out, oh, and you can't be corny. So Tatum's out, he can't be the face of the league. Which means there is no face of the league. Because, part of the face of the league talk is normally a face of the league is in the conversation for best player in the world. And, at least an all NBA first team caliber player.
Mm-hmm.
And no American player really consistently plays at that level outside of Jason Tatum, who, continuously makes it, but he's too corny. So it's stupid. I think the right call is just admit that there is no face of the league, except there should be faces of the league. And that's the way we're trending. This is a league that promotes parity. Yeah. So why not? What better way to promote that than, hey, these are the faces of the league, because we don't have that one guy that's just the overwhelming dominant face of the league. Like, we don't have the MJ. We don't have the prime LeBron. I know LeBron's still here technically, but he's not prime LeBron. Like, at the end of the day, like, we have multiple faces in this league, and that's perfectly fine. And guess what? Some of them are international, which shows a great testament to how great the international game has come. Because I feel like that's part of it. People just seem to want to be like, well, the face of the league is always an American player. And my response to that is just kind of along the lines of, that's just kind of more of an indictment on international basketball and where it was in the past relative to now, where all the best players are international. So yeah. I think some people just have to accept the fact that we're going to have multiple faces of the league. And if you want to pick one, I'm sorry, but then your face of the league is going to be international, as devastating as that apparently is to some people. So, because at the end of the day, who face of the league right now? Jokic, Giannis, SGA, Luka. They're your 4 best players right there, all international.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I have to, like, am I really ready to anoint like the 7th best player in the NBA as the face of the league just because he's an American-born player? No, I think that's stupid.
Yeah. So John said face of the league, SGA, Joker for the next few years. Paolo could slide up there in the next few years, then Cooper and Victor in 4 years. I also think part of the reason why they're searching for just the face of the league is because maybe we are miscalculating this current era of the NBA and just anointing LeBron as the face. Could you not make the argument that we've had faces of the league all this time? Because Steph Curry has to be up there. I think to some extent, even a KD. So I think, could that be the reason why these conversations are happening, is because they think that with LeBron leaving, you need that next guy, when even with LeBron, he wasn't the only one anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. And that's the thing. I think people forget that there, at times are multiple faces of the league. It's very rare that you have one face of the league. And when you do have one face of the league, it's like a transcendent top 10 greatest player all time sort of player.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously when we talk face of the league, you start with, George Mikan, and then Wilt and Bill, then you go Kareem, then, Magic and Bird, and then it was just Jordan. But I think once you hit like the 2000s, that's where it becomes interesting, right? Because you can say Kobe, but then some people argue Timmy, and then for a few years it was Shaq, and then LeBron emerged, and LeBron probably was the sole face for like a 3-4 year stretch, but then Steph Curry emerges. And I think, at the end of the day, people just don't really realize how often that there's just more than one face of the league. And that's a good thing, because you don't want to put your faith all into one person. You want to kind of spread that out. So
yeah. And for John saying, I know what it is, who to put on the cover of NBA 2K games.
Oh, if I was 2K, I would troll if I knew I had that kind of power. Yeah, nah. Al Horford's going on the next cover.
I feel like we kind of understand who will probably be on the next 2K cover. It's probably going to be
SGA.
Ant, SGA, or Wemby would probably be the 3 in the running. And I agree, SGA maybe, because he is the MVP, so it would make the most sense to put him on the cover. And I feel like if they do put SGA, they kind of have to, after the game when they talk to SGA and his teammates are behind him, I feel like that should be the cover. You kind of make SGA obviously the focal point, but, put the other guys behind him. That's been kind of the Thunder image, so that's what they should do. I will say, I've come on here before and have dogged 2K. My stance has softened a little bit. I still think out of the sports games, it is probably the bottom for me, but it's not as bad as I thought. Now, Paolo is an interesting name because John did put that up there. The thing that might be working against Paolo is he's in Orlando.
Yeah.
And unless Orlando makes that big leap, I don't know.
Like, Orlando has to get some playable guards first. Because, like, as much as we hate to admit it, team success does play a big part in face of the league convos.
Yep.
So they're going to have to upgrade the overall team in order to kind of prop Paolo into those conversations.
He's getting traded as who? Paolo? Not a chance.
No.
Orlando's going to do everything they can for Paolo. Unless Paolo goes to them and goes, I want out, I don't think there's any chance he's leaving Orlando.
Oh. Say Eastern Conference Jonathan Kuminga's getting some nice run this game. By the way, I'm talking about Benedict Matthew when I call him that.
Okay, John. Yes. I always love one of those that starts aunts, cousins, sisters, love those stories. You spend half the time listening, trying to figure out who actually said. But yeah, I don't think he's going there. But all right, let's go All NBA before I guess we kind of wind down the show. So, for those of you who may not know, they did release their All NBA. Let me go ahead and share this screen to give you the visual. Okay, that should be good enough. Here we go. Present. All right. So here is your All NBA first team. 4 of them were unanimous. I'm sure you could guess the 4, but it was Giannis, SGA, Joker, and Tatum was unanimous. Despite him being so corny, he was unanimous. Donovan Mitchell, the 5th man. Now, obviously, you'd say, where's Luka? He didn't play enough games. So if he did, Luka would probably be there, but they elevated Donovan Mitchell to the first team. Do you have any issues with this first team?
Nope, this is exactly who I had on the first team, so no issues for me.
I agree. I have no problem. I mean, look, the Cavs are really good this year. It probably makes the most sense putting Donovan Mitchell, who was their best player, up there. I have no problem with it as well. Let's go second team. Second team didn't get a graphic on NBA.com, but yeah.
Watching Benedict Mathurin try to Euro step layup in between 3 defenders is the funniest thing ever.
So he's Indiana's Rudy Gobert. Because Rudy Gobert will try to pull off some of the most outlandish things when he has the ball in his hand. I kind of appreciate it because it does give me a laugh, but in his mind, like Rudy thinks he's like 6 foot when the ball's in his hands. Have you seen his pregame workout?
Yeah.
He dribbles with both balls and he can't control either one.
Like, brother, you're shooting 35% on layups this postseason. Please work on that first.
Yeah. I mean, look, maybe Rudy's just unserious, and I can appreciate that. But yeah, the second team, you got Jalen Brunson, Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, LeBron James, Evan Mobley. Any issues with the second team?
Nope, and it's Mobley over KD because KD didn't play enough games.
Yes. So, I did see some people questioning Steph on the second team.
Well, wait, my question is which direction? Like, did they think it should be first team?
They think Steph should be third team.
Okay, because I was going to say, I don't think he had an argument for first team per se. Okay. I think he came on strong in the end, and I think that put him in the conversation for, like, first team. But in all reality, I picked Donovan Mitchell because I didn't think Steph – because, the first, 42 games did happen, or 50. So I didn't think he deserved first team. I thought, he got himself into the conversation by coming on so strong in the end. But I think he's in the perfect place. I think him being on the second team is deserved. 65. Yeah, I played 65 games to qualify.
Mm-hmm. And I can say like Jaylen Brown didn't qualify because he played 64, which that's gotta be rough.
Also, Jaylen Brown just wasn't an All NBA player this year.
I know, like he tried to go on this run late in the season to make All NBA, and he played 64 games. So I thought it was, yeah. But I think Luka only played. I think Luka played like 50 something, so he wasn't close. KD played.
Cade's here. Well, not on this team, obviously, but he's here.
Yes. Scroll down. Third team, Cade Cunningham, which I love to see that because I like to see Cade Cunningham getting some love for what he did in Detroit. Halliburton, James Harden, who like had a quiet good year for a quiet team in the Clippers. Like the Clippers, you didn't hear much about this year, but yes, Harden had a decent year. Then you have Cat and Jalen Williams. Good to see Jalen Williams get some love here as well. Any problems with the third team?
No, at the end of the day, I think, you can make arguments for like Hallie over Curry, but I think they almost did the same thing where Hallie got off to a super slow start and picked it up in the second half. Curry did the same thing, and I think, Cade was I think he was great this year, but at times he was a little up and down. So I at the end of the day, I'm fine with all the guard placements. I like Hallie and Cade on the second or third team and Curry on the second team. So I think the only guy you can make an argument that deserved one is Jaren Jackson Jr. But a lot of times
Yes.
these awards will kind of go, they'll favor the people that come on strong in the second half. And Jaren did the opposite. He came on really strong in the first half and fell off in the second half. And that just absolutely killed him.
Yeah. So I will say that I think the couple that I saw who talked about it, they thought Cade could have been second team over Curry. And I did think somebody said Jaren Jackson, they probably would have put second team over Evan Mobley, but that was only because they kind of forgot about Evan Mobley, which it's kind of disrespectful, but I
mean,
get that.
No.
Yeah. So,
like,
but I think once they saw Mobley made, they were like, oh yeah, they didn't disagree with Mobley going on there, but they just forgot about Mobley when they were thinking about their All NBA selections.
Say Mobley definitely deserved that All NBA team selection.
Mm-hmm. Devin Booker has to be fourth team, sure. LeBron, DeRozan. LeBron's second team, DeRozan.
DeMar might be like second team All NBA California or fourth team All NBA California.
Right.
Like, listen, I obviously I'm just kidding. DeMar was solid this year, but DeMar also isn't a guy that should have touched an All NBA team this year. He was not that good.
Mm-hmm.
He was like good in the sense that he can still help your team, but he shouldn't even been an honorable mention for All NBA.
Yeah. Now, speaking of honorable mention, because they do show how the voting went. There goes Chuck.
Oh, yes.
So like I said, first team, you had your 4 unanimous. Donovan Mitchell got 61 first place votes, and third, yeah. So the one that he beat out was Ant, had the highest number on the second team, but still 100 points away. So there's a gap between Donovan Mitchell and Anthony Edwards. So Jalen Brunson had the lowest on the second team, and he beat out Cade Cunningham by 9 points. So that was a tight race there. James Harden had the lowest total on the third team. Also, Cade had 6 first place votes, which was more than Brunson, Mobley, and Curry got. So Cade getting some recognition. Love to see it. Now, the best of the rest. Would you like to guess who had the highest vote total that didn't make any of the 3 teams?
Oh, this one's going to be... It's going to be somebody that if I get wrong, I'm going to, call myself an idiot, but I really don't know who. I'm always excited to see these because there's always somebody on there that just really shouldn't be.
Okay, yeah.
See, who is it?
All right. It is Alperen Şengün.
I never mind. I would never guess Şengün.
No, Jaylen Brown didn't play enough to qualify. So Şengün missed it by 10 points from James Harden. Then after Şengün, you get Jaren Jackson Jr. Then it drops all the way off to Zubac with 15 points. Jaren Jackson at 55. And then Darius Garland, Sabonis, Siakam, Bam Adebayo, Trae Young.
How does Sabonis always get a vote in every year?
No, I don't know who's in that room just dying on that hill with Sabonis, but he's always getting votes. Devin Booker, who you did mention, John, last player here with 2 third-place votes.
Last year, he got a DPOY vote for who knows what reason.
Mm-hmm.
This year, he gets an MVP vote. He got an MVP vote last year. Is Arvidas on the panel or what's going on?
Sabonis has a lot of fans, I guess. So that's how the voting went. I mean, I was surprised, I guess, Booker being there. Even Bam, I was like, really? You saw that Heat team and you thought Bam needed a All-NBA vote, but, even Trae Young, but, Trae Young did put up numbers, so I guess I get that. But, yeah. So there we go. That was the All-NBA squad. Let me remove that. Bring that back up. Yeah, Jory put somebody who's unserious with their ballots there. Yeah. Also, Jory also put before Luka looks slim, Guess JJ got him in line. I have seen the picture. Luka looks like he's in tip-top shape. Now, will he be that come the fall? Let's hope he is. Because I've seen people putting up like old clips of Luka, and I forget how slim he was his rookie year. And then you look at him now, you're just like, yeah, the transformation was not needed. So
it's one of those things with that though. I think adding some bulk, I think you just got to find balance, right?
yeah.
Because like I think you kind of also wouldn't mind him adding some more weight on, just because like adding that extra weight really does help him with his post up game.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's got to find that balance between like where he was, like where you don't want him to be, but you don't want him to be as skinny as he was, rookie year Luka. Because while he gains a lot of agility, I think he loses some of that in the post. So you just got to find that right balance for himself.
Yeah. And look, maybe he has, and we'll see that next season. Because also as Jory put, JJ wants to see that. Like JJ would love to see this new picture of Luka walking through the door training camp next season. Like JJ would throw a party. So We'll have to see that. And also, I don't know if you saw the LeBron video. He's out there dancing already after his MCL sprain or whatever.
Say Lucas. It's funny. Luka's losing all this weight, but Nico's probably already writing his next hit piece on him.
Or he's probably telling people like, "I told you, he was overweight." Because look at him; he had to go change his body. I told you.
He's taking all the credit, probably just like he would have done this if I hadn't taken the initiative to trade him.
Let's see. When Joker bigger looks faster than Luka, there is a problem. Yeah, Joker's just going to be an anomaly to me because he can barely jump, yet you rarely see his shot get blocked. He isn't the fastest runner, but when he does get going, he's pretty quick with the ball. So that's kind of just what makes him great. But yeah, he should never be quicker than Luka. I agree. All right. Oh yeah, did have a fun. Where is it? One thing to close out the show with. I have to find it really quickly. So basically, we all know flag football coming back to, well, not coming back, but coming to the Olympics. So if you are looking around social media, you have seen a lot of these build a lineup type things. So I figured, why not do that for our show to kind of end it? All right, take that off. Where is it? Bring this up. Here we go.
Oh, dear goodness. Say the Knicks are right now getting another DeLon Wright legacy game.
Oh. Now, you talked about you didn't know that Brandon Cooks was still in the league. I honestly lost track of where DeLon Wright was in his career. I saw him last game. I was like, DeLon Wright's in New York?
I only knew that is because Bucks had initially signed him and he got moved out as part of the Kuzma trade to get Jericho Sims. That's the only reason I knew he was still in the league is because he was here first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go. All right, so here is what you are tasked with. You have $15. Build your flag football team. Now, you can spend the $15 on as many players as you want. Because I do think the limit for flag football is 12. So we'll say you have to get between 5-12 players, $15. Go ahead and have at it. Those in the chat as well, you should be able to see it well enough, but put your $15 lineup in the chat as well.
Let's see. All right, here we go. The challenge about the $1 section is with flag football, you also have to play defense. So I got to make sure to get somebody like I got to make sure I picked a really good athlete out of that $1 section.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Honestly, let's say this is so tough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm debating right now between Malik Neighbors or Miles McBride.
Trey McBride.
Trey McBride.
Yeah.
I get the McBrides mixed up all the time. Let's see, 5 players, $15.
Also, for those in the chat, this is up on the Wire to Wire Facebook page as well. So, after you put them in the chat here, if you want to go over there and place them over there, you can do that as well.
Okay, I feel like, because I feel like flag football. I feel like this is like Lamar's wheelhouse.
Okay.
I don't think it'd be possible to take a flag away from Lamar in flag football.
True.
So I know I'd probably just go Lamar because I don't think I could pass that up.
Well, while you're building your lineup, Trajan was going on Trajan. He comes in with Bowers. So let me double check the math here. So Bowers where's Bowers? $2. Okay. You got Neighbors for $1. So that's 3. Allen, it's 5. Jefferson. All right, Jefferson Gibbs. There you go. That's $15. So like I said, you can spend it on however many players you want. The limit in flag football is 12, but you have to have at least 5, obviously. So that's a good list. It's a good team right there. Jory chiming in. Mahomes for 4. Surtain for 4. So that's giving you 8. Henry. I mean, we could have guessed you're going to get Henry on the team. Good pick there. For $2, you can't go wrong with Henry. It's 10. St. Brown, 13. And then Jacobs. Wait, did I do that wrong? Did you have $1 left over? Mahomes for 8, 10, 13. Yeah, Jory, you have $1 left over.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna stick to the fun, a little old one in each category and column here. I think I want to build around speed because that's kind of huge in this whole sport. So I think obviously I'm taking Lamar.
Okay.
I'm going to League Neighbors. I feel like it's a steal for $1.
Mm-hmm.
This is where it gets hard, but let's see, because I know I'm trying to remember how much I've spent $6 so far.
Yeah.
$9 left over. I think I'm gonna go with. You know what? I'll take I think I got it. I'll take a Cooper DeJean for $1.
Okay. So
and then my last $8 I'm going to spend between Jahmyr Gibbs and Saquon Barkley.
Okay. So Jackson Neighbors, Gibbs, Barkley, and DeJean.
Yep.
Okay. And Jory with her $1 added DeJean, so she has Mahomes, Surtain, Henry, St. Brown, Jacobs, DeJean. Okay. John coming in with, he's spending all over the place. Burrow, St. Brown, Gibbs, DeJean, Neighbors, Henry, Bowers. Okay. All right. So I will tell you that the lineup, I did this one on the Facebook page, so you guys can see it there, but I went Allen, Chase, Neighbors, McBride, Jacobs, Hamilton, and Gardner. I kind of went the John route. More bang for the buck. But I mean, look, I feel like any combination of these, you can't really go wrong, especially when you're looking at Olympic flag football. And I think the intriguing part for me is that we do have people in this country who just play flag football. Like if any of them actually snuck onto the team, I think that'd be cool. But I kind of want to see what these other countries may bring to the table. Because there's talent in the NFL that's non-American. So who's going to be that team outside of the U.S. that kind of comes up and kind of, impresses during the Olympics. I think that's what would be interesting for me.
Ooh, that was such a brutal sequence for the Knicks. If it's not obvious, I kind of have the game on off to the side, so I'm peeking it. Say Cat made a free throw. DeLon Wright actually stole the inbound, but then missed. And then he couldn't recover in time, and Allie just hit a three. So,
yeah, because the Pacers do have a slim lead in that one as we're coming out to the end of the first half. Also, we did talk earlier. The Dallas Wings are about to get their first win tonight. Obviously, they're playing my son, so yeah, they're up 102-79 late in the fourth. So I guess you need a win. Go ahead and play my son, and you'll get it. Hayden Becker's with 21, leading the way. Of course, Dejounte has 16. Oh,
and look at that, 55% from the field, 53% from three. Like when you efficiently put the ball in the basket, like good things happen.
Yeah. Connecticut. All right. It's going to be a long season. Oh, Tina Charles had 27. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's all we had for you. Appreciate you all tuning in. Brett, anything you want to kind of let them know what's coming up before we get out of here?
Yeah, no, come hang out with Mo and I. We're gonna get I'm gonna hop off here, let my dogs out, we're gonna get settled, and then we'll be right back at you with some wrestling on the on the Meaty Boys podcast. Yeah. So definitely check us out.
All right, there you go. And you'll find me back on here Friday for Passion and Precision with Jory, who's been in the chat. So make sure you check us out. Then I may pop up one of these mornings for Coffee and Sports. That's going to be a goal of mine to pop up on there at least one day. So maybe that's this week. I don't know. You'll just have to check that out. So make sure you're back for Meaty Boys here in a little bit, and then get caught up in the morning Coffee and Sports, where they'll get you caught up on the game tonight as well as anything else that happens in the world of sports. So like, share, all that good stuff. Follow the Wire to Wire page. That way you are alerted when we do go live here. So appreciate all of you. Enjoy the rest of your night. Come back for Meaty Boys with Brett, and we will see you next week for another episode of On the Ball. All right. Bye.